Morning light touches the tops of tall trees. The air is cool and still. Leaves shine with tiny drops of water left by the night. In this quiet, sacred place, a small sound rises from the canopy high above. It is a soft cluck, a sharp, almost bird-like chatter. A shadow moves with impossible grace along a high branch, a flash of gray and cream, a long, flowing tail its only trace. This is the home of the Grizzled Giant Squirrel. This forest was made for it. Srivilliputhur Grizzled Squirrel Wildlife Sanctuary, a promise made to a shy and gentle creature, a special forest, a safe home built to protect this elusive animal. The Grizzled Giant Squirrel is a creature of the high branches. It needs tall, old trees. It needs a continuous network of branches to move, to feed, and to feel safe. For many years, these essential trees were cut down. The world of humans expanded, pushing against the forest edge, breaking the green world into small, isolated pieces. As its home fragmented, the squirrel's numbers began to fall. But this place, born from that threat, now stands as a symbol of hope. The Grizzled Giant Squirrel moves with a deliberate and careful grace. Slow, measured steps along branches, close up on its focused eyes and paws. It does not leap wildly from tree to tree like a monkey. Instead, it prefers to walk along the safe, established paths of the canopy, moving from one branch to another where they connect. You might see it carrying a mouthful of fresh green leaves. It uses these to build a nest. It also gathers twigs for structure. It builds a large round nest high in the crown of a tree. This nest, known as a dray, is like a big leafy ball, offering shelter from the sun and rain. The squirrel is a meticulous builder, often constructing several nests. One nest for resting, another, more secure one, for raising its young. Its diet is simple and tied directly to the health of the forest. It feeds on fruits. It eats nuts. It nibbles the tender new shoots of leaves. Sometimes it will carefully nibble on the bark of certain trees, finding nourishment there. It needs a wide variety of trees to provide food throughout the different seasons of the year. The diversity of the forest is the diversity of its pantry. When the squirrel feels that danger is near, it lets out a distinct call. A loud, harsh, chattering sound echoes through the trees, alerting other squirrels and forest creatures to a potential threat. This sanctuary, however, holds more than just one story. It is a rich and diverse landscape. The squirrel is just one of its many precious inhabitants. Steep, grassy slopes, rocky outcrops of the higher elevations are the domain of another rare creature, the Nilgiri Tahr, a wild mountain goat, strong and sure-footed, with beautifully curved horns. It moves with astonishing agility on cliffs, a master of the high, windswept places. Lower down, in shadowed valleys and dense woodlands, the mighty Asian elephant walks in calm, deliberate lines. These gentle giants move like living mountains, wise matriarchs guiding their families along ancient paths. You may hear their deep, rumbling communications long before you see them. The ground itself tells their story, with wide, soft footprints marking their passage. At night, another secretive presence makes itself known. The leopard moves with silent, fluid steps, a hunter cloaked in shadow and spots, its golden eyes seeing what we do not in the darkness. High in the same evergreen canopy the squirrel calls home, another primate travels in lively groups. This is the lion-tailed macaque, a striking monkey with a dark black coat, a magnificent gray mane that frames its face. This forest is a critical stronghold for this species. But we must remember that this harmony began with a threat. The grizzled giant squirrel is not safe without our constant help and vigilance. Its world is fragile. When trees are cut, the squirrel loses its food sources. The squirrel loses its pathways. The canopy is its road system. A gap is a dead end, isolating populations, limiting their genetic diversity. When forests are broken into small, disconnected patches, the squirrel's nests, built so high for safety, become exposed. They are vulnerable to harsh weather. They are vulnerable to predators that might not otherwise reach them. A single act of clearing can destroy a generation's home. The dangers are many. Fire can climb trunks and destroy high nests in minutes. All of these pressures add up. Numbers can drop quickly. This is why the sanctuary is not just a nice idea. It is an absolute necessity. Rangers patrol the trails tirelessly, watching for signs of fire and stopping illegal activities. Well, imagine a day spent here, a journey that teaches us how this care works in practice. The morning starts with a chorus of bird songs, a symphony of calls from drongos, bulbuls, and flycatchers, all bright and full of energy. The forest air smells fresh, earthy, and a little bit sweet from the blossoms of unseen flowers. The rising sun paints the tops of the highest leaves in shades of gold, orange, while the lower forest remains cool and dim. On a tall tamarind tree, a large round nest sits snugly in a fork near the crown. It looks like a messy ball of sticks and leaves, a perfect piece of wild architecture. Slowly, a squirrel emerges from the nest, its grizzled fur catching the morning light. It stretches, its long body arching before it begins to move. It travels along a familiar branch, its steps slow and sure, its long tail trailing behind it. It pauses to taste a tender young leaf, then moves on to find a ripe fruit, which it holds delicately in its front paws. It stops its meal to watch a black drongo expertly chase a moth through the air. Far away, on a distant misty cliff face, the dark shape of a Nilgiri Tahr stands perfectly still. Down below on the forest floor, a family of Sambar deer moves with quiet elegance toward a stream for a morning drink. Butterflies float through patches of sunlight in shimmering lines of iridescent blue, bright yellow. Every corner of this sanctuary is humming with life, each creature going about its day in a rhythm that has been practiced for thousands of years. The peace is tangible, a feeling that settles deep in your soul. This quiet activity is the result of active protection, with rangers walking their patrol routes and scientists making careful observations. By midday, the sun is high. The heat grows in the open spaces. The shade beneath the giant trees is now a precious commodity, a cool refuge from the tropical warmth. In the dappled light at the forest's edge, a small herd of elephants has gathered. They use their powerful trunks to pull down clumps of grass with a calm, unhurried strength. A young calf, still clumsy and learning the ways of the world, stays close, hiding safely under the immense body of its mother. Dust kicked up by their feet rises and hangs in the bright shafts of light, creating a magical, hazy effect. Somewhere deeper in the forest, perhaps in a dense thicket of bamboo, a leopard rests. It might be licking a paw clean or simply dozing, its spotted coat providing the perfect camouflage. Not far away, a herd of Gaur watches the world from the cover of the trees. Their massive heads occasionally lift to test the air. On a thin, twisting branch, a slender loris remains perfectly still, its enormous eyes like two dark moons, half closed against the daylight. The forest provides for all, offering moments of activity and moments of rest, a cycle of energy that flows from the sun, to the leaves, to the creatures that eat them, and back to the earth again. As the afternoon wears on, a breeze begins to move through the canopy. Suddenly, the air is filled with the sharp, excited calls of a troop of lion-tailed macaques. A great hornbill flies past, its huge wings making a whooshing sound, carrying a large fruit in its beak. As evening begins to fall, the light softens and the colors of the forest deepen. The chorus of the day birds fades, replaced by the chirping of crickets and the first calls of the owls. The heat of the day finally lowers, and a cool calm descends upon the sanctuary. The grizzled giant squirrel, its belly full from a day of foraging, makes its way back to its cozy nest. It circles 3 times before curling up inside its leafy sphere. As the day animals settle down to rest, the night animals begin to stir, and the forest's second shift begins its work. The day closes with a soft, peaceful hum. What is it that keeps this delicate harmony safe? It is a combination of respect and rules, of human care and thoughtful planning. The sanctuary has designated paths for people to walk on. It has set times for when visitors can enter and when they must leave, giving the animals their space in the crucial hours of dawn and dusk. There are simple but vital rules. Do not feed the animals. Do not make loud noises. Do not leave any trash behind. Stay on the marked trails. Do not take anything from the forest, not even a small stone or a fallen flower. The local people who live in the villages surrounding the sanctuary are a crucial part of this story of hope. They have known this land for generations. They understand its seasons and its secrets. Some of them work as expert trackers, some work as guides, others participate in community-led conservation efforts, planting native tree saplings on the edges of their farms to create buffer zones. They are the sanctuary's neighbors and its most important allies. Children in the local schools learn the names of the birds and the trees. They are taught to recognize the squirrels' nests high in the canopy, and they point them out with smiles of recognition. This grassroots connection, this sense of shared ownership and responsibility, is one of the most powerful forces for conservation. Hope is not just a policy, it is a feeling in the heart of a community. The weather also plays a vital role in guiding the life of the sanctuary. Monsoon rains arrive and the forest changes. A mountain stream swells and rushes. The dry earth awakens, Dormant seeds sprout into new life, but in the long, dry months, water becomes scarce, and some food sources disappear. The sanctuary management must ensure that waterholes are maintained and that corridors for movement remain open and safe for all wildlife. A corridor is a simple but brilliant idea. It is a pathway of green that connects one patch of forest to another, acting as a bridge over a human-dominated landscape. For the grizzled giant squirrel, a corridor might be a single line of tall, mature trees planted along a riverbank. For a herd of elephants, it needs to be a much wider belt of mixed forest that allows them to move between larger territories without coming into conflict with people or farms. These corridors are lifelines, preventing populations from becoming trapped and isolated in small islands of green. Science brings ever more hope. Dedicated research teams use modern tools to better understand and protect the forest. They set up quiet camera traps that capture images of shy and nocturnal animals without disturbing them. They study tracks and signs to map the movements of large mammals. They use sound recorders to map the territories of squirrels by listening for their calls at dawn. This data helps them learn when the young are born, which fruits are most important during the dry season, and which areas of the forest are most critical for nesting. With this detailed knowledge, conservation actions become more effective. They can identify and give special protection to the old veteran trees that have the large crowns needed for nesting. All of this is simply care, guided by science and applied with persistence, year after year. It is the steady, quiet work that builds a lasting foundation for hope. Still, we must continue to face the threat with honesty. The grizzled giant squirrel is not a numerous species. It lives in only a few specific forests in southern India and Sri Lanka. Its population is fragile. One very bad dry season can have a devastating impact. One large, uncontrolled fire can destroy hundreds of nests in a single afternoon. One new, poorly planned road can sever a vital corridor forever. We cannot afford to look away or become complacent. The sanctuary must remain strong. Hope is not a passive dream. Hope is active work. We see the results of that work here. We see it in the round, leafy nests. We see it in the calm, unhurried walk of elephants, in the leap of a Nilgiri Tahr. We hear it in the excited whispers of children. We feel it in the cool, deep shade of old-growth trees. If you care for this forest, there are simple ways you can help. You can learn the names of native trees, support planting organizations, choose products that do not harm forests. If you visit, listen to local guides, respect rangers, follow the rules with a happy heart, keep wild places clean. These small acts, when multiplied by many, create a powerful force for good. The grizzled giant squirrel is a small creature next to an elephant, next to a Gaur, but its story is large and important. It tells us that every single life has a place and a purpose. It reminds us that a forest is so much more than just a collection of trees. It is nests and leaves, fruit and flowers, songs and silence. It is the feeling of careful feet on bark, the soft press of a long tail used for balance, the fierce, protective love of a mother guarding her warm nest through the night. This is the world we are saving. One day soon, a young squirrel will take its first tentative steps out of the nest, learn the high pathways from its elders, and build its very first nest because we, as people, chose to care. This is the promise of protection.